The softball team was on fire the last time we talked, and Kyle Anthony now joins me to see if they were able to light it up out on the diamond.
Well, Chris, 2 weeks ago the softball team was on a nice 9-game win streak, but 2 weeks things have really taken a turn for the worse, and they've lost 3 of their last 4 and 6 of their last 10. They are now 16-14 on the season and are 11-7 in the KISC conference. Point Park started off this 2-week stretch by taking on Brescia in a 4-game home set. In the first game of the set, the Pioneers went down 9-5. Megan Dyer recorded the loss. She went allowing 5 runs on 5 hits on 7 runs in 5 innings of work. Teresa Davis was responsible for her bringing in 3 of the 5 runs. The downfall in this game was the fact that 10 runners were left on base for the Pioneers. The second game of the series went a lot better with the Pioneers picking up the win at 9-1. Hannah Harley got the win for the Pioneers, allowing 1 run on 2 hits, and she went the whole game. The Pioneers out-hit Brescia 26-15. Ashmi Rand and Karen Mao each went 3 for 4 with a double. Both games were dropped on Sunday. The first game they lost by a score of 3-2. Sarah Urchek was the losing pitcher after allowing 3 runs, in which none of which were earned. Nikki Eager brought in both the runs for the Pioneers. In the second game, the Pioneers lost 8-7. It was another rough outing for Megan Dyer, who allowed 7 runs on 8 hits. Before the Pioneers went on to take Carlo, Ashmi Moran was named KISC Player of the Week for the second time in a row. The senior shortstop is hitting .590 with 4 doubles and 6 RBIs this past week. The Pioneers went on to take on crosstown rival Carlo and won both games. The first, they won by a score of 9-4. Hannah Harley picked up the win in the game. In 1 run was picked up actually after Moran hit a solo home run, and Teresa Davis hit a triple that brought in some more runs. In Game 2, the Pioneers won 11-0. Karen Mao went 3 for 4 with 3 RBIs, and Gavi Vogt went 3 for 4 and also had 4 RBIs. After that, they went on to take on IU Southeast. The Pioneers won the first of 2 games. The first game was won 9-3. Hannah Harley picked up her 6th victory of the season. Karen Mao and Teresa Davis, Nikki Eager, and Gavi Vogt all had RBIs in the game. The Pioneers weren't so lucky in the second game, losing 3-2. Megan Dyer was the losing pitcher, allowing 3 runs, but only 2 of which were earned. The Pioneers' runs were brought in by a 2-run homer by Ashley Moran. The second day at Southeast didn't go as the Pioneers wanted, and they ended up losing both games, the first of which they lost 4-3. Sarah Urchek took the loss in the game. Gabby Vogt had 2 RBIs in the game. They dropped the last game of the series 2-0. Megan Dyer took the loss in the last game of the set. Up next for the Pioneers, they'll take on West Virginia Tech, Alice Lloyd, and Carlo.
Kyle, you look at this team here, they were on fire just a few weeks ago. They started off well, and then it just kind of, the wheels came out from underneath them. What is going wrong for them out on the diamond?
Well, I mean, Chris, they've been able to score a lot of runs lately, but the problem they've really had is with their pitching. Megan Dyer, who is supposed to be the ace on this team, has really been struggling a lot as of late. She's been allowing a lot of hits, and she's getting run support behind her. Besides for that one game where the Pioneers didn't put up any runs, she's getting enough runs put up behind her, just she's not doing her part.
Now you look at the pitching is kind of fallen down a little bit. What does it need to do really regain what it had just a few weeks ago?
Well, they just need to regain some confidence. Early in the game, they need to get some quick outs, take away from those early hits, and they need to cut down the errors. I mean, we saw a lot of unearned runs being scored, so the Pioneers need to work on their fielding, because the better you field, the more confidence you're going to give the pitcher, and the better that they're going to be able to feel.
All right, thanks, Kyle. I told you had a special guest in studio coming up, and now we're going to toss it over to our rugby analyst, Johnie Freiwald, who is with him in studio.
Thanks, Chris. Now today we have Nathan Canan in studio with us. He's a junior here at Point Park. And how many years have you been on the rugby team, Nate?
At the end of the semester, it will be 2 full years part of the team.
That's a long time on the team. Now, have you played the same position the whole time, or have you switched around?
When I first originally joined the team, I don't know how familiar you are with rugby, but then you have the backs and the pack. They thought I was a smaller type person, and they put me along with the runners in the back. they reevaluated me within the first semester of me playing, and I became part of the scrum. I became part of the pack. I mostly played the lock position. That's where I was at for the majority of time. However, I got hurt around the fall of this past season, and I've just been kind of more on the sidelines now and just filling in, just getting back into the groove of things. I'm back to playing my regular position now in the spring. So that's mostly, but I've been playing as number 5 lock.
That's cool. Now, the beginning of this year in the fall, you had a very exciting beginning to the rugby season, and then it kind of dwindled a little bit. Why do you think that happened?
It's basically just because we got a new squad of guys, and like how I got hurt, I wasn't the only one. There was just an injury after another, just multiple different weeks, multiple different people getting hurt, and there's only so many people part of the team, and then once you start knocking down the numbers, you have to start bringing in the least experienced people, and that just kind of hurts the whole foundation. There's a sort of chemistry that you start gaining through practicing, and then if you have to switch those people out, you're just going to mess up the chemistry, that, like I said, and that's kind of what ended up hurting us in the end. But I mean, I think that it helped everybody grow because everybody got a chance to play then.
Now, we did see a lot of injuries last season. Now, we started playing again with some tournaments and things. Well, tell me about that last tournament that you guys had. It was a little bit rough one, huh?
That was quite a day. We went over to there's a few different clubs, men's leagues that are within the Pittsburgh area. You have the South Pittsburgh Hooligans. This was the Highlanders tournament. They're in North Pittsburgh. And they just sponsored a tournament, and what happens with those, they bring in rugby clubs, different universities from all over the area. There's teams from Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, all through there, men's and women's teams, and it just gives a great opportunity to network with these teams and play teams that you normally don't get to play before. But this was quite a day because I know the weather in Pittsburgh here and within the Pennsylvania area has been quite up and down recently, especially today. But that was just one of those days where it started to snow, and the day before, I think it was in the 60s, like you could wear shorts and a t-shirt, and then the next day, absolute cold. And it was about an hour and a half away, drive up north around Newcastle, Lancaster area, and rained the night before. Started to snow when we got there, started early around 8 in the morning. Every single team just played really groggy type style of play, very sloppy. The fields were horrible, muds. You would step on that field and your ankle would be surrounded by mud. It was almost impossible to play, and more than half the teams after the first game left, and that's pretty unfortunate because we might have drove about an hour and a half, but some of those teams spent their whole day trying to get there, and it's just really upsetting because you just want to have the chance to play with all those teams because you'll probably never get that chance again. And it's a great time because rugby's all about unity. Even though you might try to play a very physical game against another team, at the very end of it, you all come together and you shake each other's hands and you say good match, and you generally mean that because every team's given their all. And it was just really, really hard that day to do that. And we only got to play one match, and we had an injury within the first 5 minutes, and then another one happened by the second half, and it was just looking way too sloppy, and we ended up leaving after our first match just like half the other ones did. And I just wish we could have that tournament again because we might not have another chance.
Now, there was injuries in that and in the regular season, but off the field, now I hear you're going to have a new position next year. What is that going to entail?
I became the vice president. I was elected as the vice president, so starting next year I'll be the full vice president. Basically, being that, I will be coordinating different charity events, any type things that we have to do. We want to get more involved. We feel here at Point Park we are an important organization that is known because we are not considered an official team. We are still a club, and a lot of clubs give back, and I think that's pretty much why I got elected, is because I'm so drive to want us to do more than just play rugby, and the rest of the team admires that. And so come next year, we're going to be doing a lot more volunteering in different places, helping out with different things that we can, and basically my job will be to set that up and make sure everything is scheduled right and things like that.
Now, even though the rugby team isn't an official school sport here, it is a lot of fun to go ahead and watch, and they'll be playing this weekend, so don't miss that this Friday. Now back to Chris.
Thanks, Johnie, and thank you, Nate, for stopping by. Now, after this, we'll have another interview with Penguins executive Tom McMillan coming up after the break.